Today on Public Eye News, a Van Buren County man wins $1 million in a Michigan Lottery instant game. But first, NMU prepares to host the 2025 Great Lakes Cannabis Collaboration Conference.
Emma Moratz will have your weather forecast for the next couple of days. Later, she will also bring you today's sports breakdown. I'm Bianca Kroll.
And I'm Luke Middle. This is Public Eye News. The 2025 Great Lakes Cannabis Collaboration Conference is set to kick off at Northern Michigan University tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. The event showcases advancements in educational material on the science of cannabis and trends within the field. The conference will feature leading experts in the cannabis industry, including a panel of 5 NMU alumni. Some of the presentations include Deciphering the Complex Phytochemistry of Cannabis from Plant to Extracts by Ian W.H. Oswald, and The Present and Future of Cannabis Regulations in Michigan, presented by Brian Hanna, Executive Director of Michigan's Cannabis Regulatory Agency. The conference will be held in the Northern Center. And the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, also known as MDARD, has awarded a $100,000 grant to NMU for the installation of solar panels at the Wellbeing Center. The project is aimed to provide more reliable and sustainable energy to the university and reduce costs of electricity. Northern is one of 21 total statewide beneficiaries of the MDARD grant. In 2024, 2 teams of students submitted proposals for installation of solar panels on the roof of the Wellbeing Center for the Green Fund, a paid student fee that would fund sustainable initiatives on campus. While the Green Fund Committee did not have enough in reserve to foot the proposed $250,000 bill, now the MDARD grant will kickstart the project.
The State Board of Education was recently presented with the report urging it to carry out a $23 billion investment in schools. The report says such an investment is critical to bring necessary infrastructure to schools in Michigan. The investment will focus on school heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. It would also address plumbing, fire prevention, and electrical service needs. State Superintendent Dr. Michael F. Rice said that schools don't just need staff and modern technology to learn, but need repairs, frequent air exchange, and reasonable temperatures. To reach the conclusions presented in the report, a study was conducted to check on Michigan schools. The study looked at 243 million square feet of school building space and took place over a 10-year period. And the Michigan State Police hosted law enforcement leaders from the United States Emiratis so they could learn more about the MSP. 6 members of the Abu Dhabi Police Special Patrols Department met with MSP and learned about police training and operational capabilities. The Emirati visitors were able to tour Michigan State Emergency Operations Center. They also watched demonstrations of MSP's Special Operations Division. The visitors even got to see the MSP's world-renowned precision driving unit. Director of MSP, Colonel James F. Grady II, said this is a great way to show our capabilities and training on an international level. Governor Gretchen Whitmer said the visit was a great opportunity for both parties to learn from each other and better serve one another. And the Vatican announced that 88-year-old Pope Francis died Monday morning. The pontiff's death came less than 24 hours after he appeared in St. Peter's Square for Easter holiday. CBS News' Jared Hill reports from New York.
Bells tolled throughout St. Peter's Square in Vatican City as mourners gathered to remember Pope Francis.
It's a very sad day for the Roman Catholic faith.
It's a stark contrast to scenes of joy on Easter Sunday.
Cari fratelli.
The 88-year-old pontiff delivered a message to the faithful, then greeted cheering crowds from the Pope-mobile for what would be the final time.
We can't believe it's happened while we're here. You know, he was a lovely Pope. We're very sad about it.
Last month, Pope Francis was released from the hospital after a 5-week stay for life-threatening double pneumonia. In his Easter address read by an aide, the Pope called for an end to violence in a number of major conflicts and urged compassion for marginalized people and migrants.
It was somehow just symbolically and spiritually apt that a Pope who was so beholden to being there for the forgotten people of the world, at the very end, that's how he went out as well.
Catholic churches around the world, including St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York, are now holding daily prayer services in honor of Pope Francis. He earned the name the People's Pope during his 12 years leading the church.
She was trying to allow people to feel included more, to give hope and more compassion. He just didn't tolerate anyone who felt that they were superior to anyone else or that they were better than.
This evening, Vatican officials will preside over a solemn ritual, placing the Pope's body in a coffin, which will eventually be placed at St. Peter's Basilica. Pope Francis will lie in state there for several days before his funeral. Jared Hill, CBS News, New York.
Now don't touch that dial. We'll be right back with weather and statewide news after this break.
Asking tough questions to those in power.
Russia right now has you outmanned, outgunned. Is it time to think about a settlement?
As a newcomer to Congress, what did you make of the high degree of dysfunction within the Republican conference?
I always felt that it was broken.
And covering events as they unfold.
Opposition fighters have reached the suburbs of the capital, Damascus.
PBS NewsHour and PBS News Weekend, every night on PBS and streaming.
Welcome back to Public Eye News. I'm Emma Ross here to deliver your weather for today. Looking at our rooftop cam, it looks very rainy and high winds. Looking across the Upper Peninsula, it is currently snowing with a high of 35 in Houghton. Ironwood has similar conditions with a high of 33. Iron Mountain is currently 39 and raining. Looking at the other side of the Upper Peninsula, in Menominee it is 42 and cloudy, along with same conditions in Escanaba and Manistee. Sault Ste. Marie is 40 and cloudy, and here in Marquette we are 37 and raining. Our current conditions include 16-mile-an-hour winds going northwest and 29.58 inches for our barometric pressure. Looking to tonight's weather, we are hitting a low of 37 with northwest winds of 17 miles an hour, and our moon phase tonight is a waning crescent. Looking at tomorrow, we have a high of 45 and a low of 37 with north-northeast winds of 8 miles an hour. Looking at later in the week, we have a high on Wednesday of 60 with partially sunny skies and a low of 41. Thursday is 47 and cloudy with a low of 31. And Friday we have a high of 42 with some rain and a low of 36. That's all I have for weather. Now back to the news desk.
Thank you for that weather update, Emma. Certainly looking forward to those 60-degree conditions on Wednesday. Going now to some statewide news. Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel has joined a coalition of 21 other attorneys general supporting a challenging of unconstitutional executive orders signed by President Donald Trump. Specifically, the brief argues that President Trump and his administration's actions are, quote, a gross abuse of authority that threaten the rule of law, end quote. Last week, the Trump administration refused to return Kilmar Abrego Garcia to Maryland after the Supreme Court ruled in a 9-0 decision that the U.S. native was wrongfully deported to El Salvador. The coalition also opposes an order President Trump gave requiring federal officials to suspend any active security clearances held by individuals at law firms. Joining Michigan in the coalition are the Attorneys General of Minnesota and Illinois. And a Van Buren County man has won $1 million playing the state's crossword lottery game. The man, who chose to remain anonymous, was mistakenly given the game instead of the scratch game he asked the cashier of the Speedway on South Kalamazoo Street in Paw Paw. When the 45-year-old learned he won the next day, he chose to receive a lump sum payment of $634,000 rather than payment installations that would give him the full amount instead. Players have won over $65 million from the major cash word game since it launched in February of 2024, and more than $47 million still remains to be won. In the fiscal year of 2024, players in Michigan received more than $1.8 billion in prizes from instant games. And CBS News has confirmed reports that Pete Hegseth shared details of U.S. attacks in Yemen in a second chat that included his wife and others. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court issued a rare weekend ruling temporarily halting the Trump administration's plan to deport more migrants. CBS News' Naomi Ruckham has the latest from New York.
Following Sunday's bombshell New York Times report, sources familiar now confirmed to CBS News that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth shared details, including flight schedules, of last month's airstrikes in Yemen in a second private signal chat that included his wife, brother, and personal attorney. The messages were sent the same day Hegseth shared similar information in a separate Signal chat that inadvertently included The Atlantic's editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg.
Nobody's texting war plans.
Hegseth previously denied the allegations. Overnight, a Pentagon spokesman blasted the reports in a statement, accusing media outlets of relying on the words of disgruntled former Pentagon employees who were fired last week. Over the weekend, more mass protests denouncing President Trump, as his administration is urging the U.S. Supreme Court to reconsider its decision to temporarily block the deportations of more Venezuelan migrants using the Alien Enemies Act. The law was used to send more than 200 migrants to an El Salvador prison last month, including Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the man the Trump administration admits was deported there by mistake. Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen met with him last week.
I was there to make sure that he was still alive.
The president of El Salvador is now proposing to exchange the U.S. deported prisoners in his country for political prisoners being held in Venezuela. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News.
And we'll be right back after this short break. Stay tuned.
Graduates of Northern Michigan University, we are so proud of you for this major accomplishment. Congratulations, you did it!
Watch NMU's 2025 Spring Commencement here on WNMU TV, Saturday, May 3rd at 10:30 a.m.
Welcome back to Public Eye News. I'm Emma Moratz here to deliver your Monday sports report. Starting off on the golfing green, the Wayne State University men's golf team won their first GLIAC Golf Championship title in over 21 years, and only the second in program history. The team was led by 2 graduate students and 3 seniors, where Wayne State defeated Saginaw Valley for the title with a final score of 4-1. The NCAA selection show takes place on April 25th, where Wayne State will be one of the teams representing the Midwest region. Jumping over into basketball, the Detroit Pistons, currently 6th seed, face off against the New York Knicks, 3rd seed, tonight in the second game of the series in the NBA playoffs. A rocky fourth quarter ended up handing the Knicks the lead and letting them go on a 21-point stretch, with the final score of the game being 112-123. Cade Cunningham put up 21 points and 12 assists against the Knicks, but committed 6 turnovers. The Pistons are looking for a comeback in tonight's game. Game starts tonight at 7:30 in Madison Square Garden. Finishing off on the baseball diamond, the Detroit Tigers face off against the San Diego Padres tonight in the first of 3 in their series. The Tigers are just finishing a 4-game series against the Kansas City Royals. They won 3 out of the 4 games over the holiday weekend. The Tigers are currently first in the ACL, while the Padres are first in the NLW. Left fielder Kerry Carpenter came out of one of the games as he experienced hamstring soreness following the single loss against the Royals. Game starts tonight at 6:40 p.m. at Comerica Park in Detroit. That's all I have for sports. Now back to the news desk.
Well, thank you, Emma, for that sports update. Luke, how are you feeling about the Detroit Tigers tonight in their game?
You know, I'm really liking where the Tigers are at right now. It's going to be a great series against the Padres, one-on-one, but I hear you have an extra story for us.
I do. I think it's very interesting. The Michigan Secretary of State will be having a mobile office event at Marquette Sawyer Regional Airport on May 8th for new airport IDs. This event will talk about how customers can obtain a real ID or how to complete Secretary of State transactions for those who need the help. Anyone can attend the event, and it's open to the public, and the event is from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Well, with that, we're out of time here in Public Eye News today, and we'd also like to apologize for any construction noises heard during the show. I'm Luke Niddle.
And I'm Bianca Kroll.
We'll see you tomorrow.
The preceding program was produced by WNMU-TV, Northern Michigan University Public Television, in studios located in Elizabeth and Edgar Hardin Hall.